That's right. I'm here with Dr. Jebediah, who is an expert on orphan drugs. Thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, since we have so many misconceptions about orphan drugs, can you tell us what is an orphan drug?
Well, an orphan drug is basically a pharmaceutical agent that has been developed specifically to treat an orphan disease.
Well, orphan disease, I actually have never heard of it. What is an orphan disease?
Well, an orphan disease is basically just a rare disease. It can be any disease that affects a small percentage of the population. And specifically here in the U.S., we define it as affecting fewer than 200,000 people. And usually with most rare diseases, there's a strong genetic component. So you'll see a lot of instances specific to one part of the world or a particular group of people because of this strong genetic component. And the sad part is that 30% of children with an orphan disease will die before the age of 50. Now obviously that varies. Every disease is different. Some are worse than others, but that's definitely sad to see.
Well, can you give us some examples of our orphan drugs and disease?
Well, yes, cystic fibrosis is probably one of the most common orphan diseases that you'll hear about. Drugs like Holmizyme and tobramycin were both developed with help from the Orphan Drug Act, and this really revolutionized the treatment for people with cystic fibrosis and has significantly improved their quality of life and really has extended their life expectancy. Now it's not uncommon to see these cystic fibrosis patients survive into their 30s and some even into their 50s. So this is definitely something that's improving with these new treatments. Another example would be the popular statin drugs that are used to lower cholesterol and are probably the most dispensed, or some of the most dispensed medications here in your typical neighborhood pharmacy. Those actually came out of research for developing treatment for an orphan disease, and that orphan disease was homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. And that research that was done on this rare disease ultimately led to this super beneficial drug to help lower cholesterol. And without that research, this drug would never have come about. So, another common case is if you're walking in the forest and suddenly you get bit by a snake. Well, snake venom poisoning is actually categorized as an orphan disease, and many drugs have been developed to treat this. So these orphan drugs and orphan diseases are a pretty big deal, even though they don't get much attention. And many other orphan drugs have been developed, like drugs to treat glioma and multiple myeloma and phenylketonuria and many other diseases. So.
Wow. Well, I can see orphan drugs have some significant effects on drug development and also saving lives for a lot of people. But why is it so uncommon for the majority of the population?
Well, first of all, patients with this disease are rare, so there's not a whole lot of people that have these diseases, and so unless you have them, you've never heard of them most likely. And so a lot of people haven't heard of orphan diseases and orphan drugs. And secondly, the development of orphan drugs to treat orphan diseases is more or less a matter of public policy, because most of these pharmaceutical companies elect not to pursue research on orphan drugs because there's simply not a big enough customer base for such a product. So these pharmaceuticals that they would be developing would not be profitable for them. So as a result, there's no interest in pursuing that research. And so really, there's just not a lot of advertisement out there to spread the information about orphan drugs and the need for new research in diseases. So really it's more public policy dictating that new research.